Good evening to you all. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about where I come from, because I think you might be able to see there are very easily drawn analogies here. You probably know from my name that I'm not from Ireland. I come from a tiny village in the Apennine Mountains, north of Naples and south of Rome. We have a population of about 1,000. So I don't suppose it's much smaller than up the road. It's an area of Italy that's almost completely unknown to tourists. They know nothing about it. Everybody knows Rome, everybody knows Naples, but there's an area in the middle there that nobody ever visits. The only people who visit, we call them tourists, but they're not. What they are people like me, who are descendants of that area, who have had to emigrate. They've gone abroad, they've gone to France, they've gone to Belgium, they've gone to Australia, they've gone to Canada, they've gone to America, and they come back in the summer. And back there, they're known as tourists. But they're not tourists in the sense that they've heard about this area and they can come and spend a lot of money. They've got an old family house to go to. They're not dropping lots of money in the community. And I'll tell you something else about my village, which I think is sort of some sort of analogy here. We have a miracle site. The baby Jesus appeared to a lady who was pruning her olive trees about 30 years ago. She was pruning the olive trees, she looked up, and there was the Madonna cradling the baby Jesus in her arms. She was so moved by this that she built a chapel on the site where she saw it. And the people in the village thought, well, Giuseppina's a bit mad, a bit crazy, what else do you expect her to do? But slowly people started coming to this miracle site. Now we're 30 years on from that, and on Sundays we have up to 20,000 people from all over Italy coming in busloads to come and see the baby Jesus. And they get off the bus, they walk down the road, they go to the little chapel, they say the prayers, and then they get back on the bus and they go somewhere else to spend the night and spend their money. Because there is nowhere in my village where they can stay. And for the last 15 years or so, the town council keeps saying, do you think maybe we should build somewhere that they could stay in? And I say, when I'm there, stop talking about it, do it. It's crazy, you've got all these thousands of people arriving, and then they turn around and they go away again. What's the point of that? All we get to do is clean up their rubbish, but they don't spend any money. That's daft. So, yeah, there are certain obvious parallels. You're in an area of Ireland that is beautiful. When I was a young man, which wasn't yesterday, I used to go and visit friends on the shore of Loch Derg. And we used to go down for the weekends. We would have been about 18, 19, 20 at the time. And we all had this notion in our heads that what we were going to do when we get there was live off the land. We weren't going to bring cans of baked beans with us. Oh no, we were going to be living off the land. Well, I used to go with a fishing rod and I'd thrash the edge of the lake. I never caught anything. Every now and then I caught a pike, but I never really knew how to cook that. I was doing this one afternoon, and there were 3 brothers who had the farm next door to where this house was, the Toohey brothers. One of them came up to me and he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to catch my supper. And he said, you're not going to do it like that. He said, come with me. So we got into a boat. He said, come with me into the boat. We went out into the middle of the lake, and he had the thing called an otter board, which he paid out, and it had a long line with about 300 spinners coming off it. We did 2 circles of the lake. He pulled in the line, and we had a brown trout and 2 sea trout, and he handed them to me. He said, now you can go and thresh the lake to your heart's content, but at least now you've got your supper. And I thought, yeah, it's a different way of looking at it. It was a mechanical way of doing it, but at least we actually got the supper, as opposed to my way where we would have starved to death, I think. But even then, I remember it was always my idea that if you could eat good food, honest food, properly prepared food, that you knew where it came from, that you knew it had been raised properly, that was what to go for. And we're in an area here in Ireland where you're blessed with rich, generous land that produces wonderful food, and probably produces food for the artisan producers all over Ireland who elaborate it and turn it into products. It doesn't say on it from North Tipperary, it says from wherever they got it from. I think you're in the same kind of position that we are in my little village in Italy. You have everything. You've got the raw materials. What you haven't got is people knowing where you are and knowing where that great produce comes from. So when I was told, would you like to come down to the eco-village, to Clough-Jordan, to Django's, I have to say, I met Django just about half an hour ago, and he was very, very excited. But then again, I suppose when you're 12 weeks old, everything is really, really exciting. I was delighted to come because I think the philosophy that's underpinning this is the sort of thing that I feels close to my heart. When I go through France, which I do once a year, what I like to do is take my time to travel through the country. I try to do a different route every year, so I'm not going down the same way. I go and explore different areas, and I agree. And one of the great things about France is that their hotels are not expensive. You can stay, there's a whole chain of them, there's probably 2,000 of them, called Premier Class, where you pay 30 euros for your room. And I think to myself, actually, that's all I want, is somewhere clean. I want somewhere that's comfortable. And that's all I need. I'm not going to live in the hotel room. I'm just going to spend a night there. And I think that's what makes travelling around France easy, because it isn't expensive to do that. At 30 euros a night, you can go and visit places, explore them, and you're not going to break the bank. Well, what Pa has done here is provide exactly and precisely what has been provided in France for years, but never in Ireland. This is a brand new idea, that you can actually have a room without spending a lot of money. A brilliant thing, because it's all very well getting people to come here, but if they can't afford to stay, that's not going to be much use. You'd end up like my village in Italy, people coming and not staying. Here they have the possibility to stay. The other little thing that I thought was quite nice for me is, having had a quick look around the eco-village, they discovered that Duncan Stewart's busy filming down here. Well, he designed my house, which I moved into 5 years ago, having spent a lifetime in old, drafty houses. Now I'm in a new house where there are no drafts, and it costs me very little heat. And I find that just a wonderful thing. The other thing that excited me about this whole project here is the fact, the community part of it, where you've got your own farm, where you actually have access to what nobody else has access to here. You can get real milk. You can get proper eggs. You can get honest, genuine food that is denied to the rest of the country, because we have a series of insane laws that make it illegal to sell eggs that come from hens that walk around. Instead, you are forced to buy them that come from a battery. You're not allowed to have unpasteurized milk. Why not? Somebody says, oh, could be dangerous. Well, thank you, I'll make that decision. You don't have to make that decision for me. Those are things I think are precious, and they're actually pretty rare. And to have that capacity, to have all of those things available to you, I think is a very special thing. I'm going to be very happy to talk wherever I can on a public platform about Django's and about what you're doing down here in Clough-Jordan. I think it's important. I really do. I think it's an important thing that you're doing. And I'll be very happy to talk about it to anybody who's prepared to listen to me. I just say well done to you all, and thank you for listening to me. And I wish this project all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Just very briefly, a couple of announcements.